The moment Wang Lin broke through to the Da Tian realm became a mark upon the world, shaking heaven and earth. And the reactions of those who witnessed it only deepened the greatness of this achievement. For countless eons, the supreme powerhouse of the Xian Cang Da Lu Immortal Astral Continent had been Gu Dao Da Tianzun, yet even he had only barely touched the threshold of Da Tian, still a great distance away from the Xianzhu Immortal Ancestor and the Guzu Ancient Ancestor. Because of this, before entering the Taigu Shenjing Ancient God Realm, Wang Lin was already nearly invincible under heaven. This also led to the fact that when he truly comprehended Lun Hui reincarnation and stepped into Da Tian, the number of people who actually witnessed it with their own eyes was exceedingly few. 1. Tian Yun Zi. As the mastermind behind countless upheavals, the grand villain across heaven's karmic cycle, Tian Yun Zi was the very first to realize that Wang Lin had grasped Lun Hui and broken through to the Da Tian realm. Even so, driven by the overwhelming temptation of returning to his homeland, he could not restrain himself and chose to strike at Wang Lin, setting into motion a game of life and death that lasted tens of thousands of years. Yet, ironically, his understanding had been wrong from the very start. The Wang Lin he confronted was actually the Liu Mo avatar, is the strongest avatar of Wang Lin, formed from the origins of Sha Lu Slaughter, Mo Mie Dark Annihilation, and Lei Ting Heavenly Thunder, possessing intelligence and emotions, sent into the past to resurrect Li Mu Wan. This avatar had never re-entered Lun Hui. Thus, in the Taigu Shenjing, the one Tian Yun Zi faced was indeed the true body, but not the true body of Liu Mo. It was the real Wang Lin. Everything he experienced within was not some illusion created by Liu Mo's Lun Hui, but Wang Lin's true life. For this reason, his outcome was destined to be failure. When Wang Lin displayed the perfection of the Da Tian realm, Tian Yun Zi before him was nothing more than a moth to the flame, utterly powerless, left only to scream in despair and unwillingness. Fortunately, in the instant before his soul dissipated, he recalled all that he had long yearned for and finally determined the name and direction of his homeland. Thus, his extreme unwillingness transformed into tranquility and even gave rise to a trace of gratitude, for it was Wang Lin who ultimately granted him release. 2. Li Mu Wan. Immediately after absorbing Tian Yun Zi's origin, the very first thing Wang Lin did was resurrect Li Mu Wan, making her the second person to witness his Da Tian cultivation. Yet, at that moment, Li Mu Wan had no true concept of this heaven-shaking realm. When she died, her cultivation was only at Yuan Ying Nascent Soul, far from realms such as Huashen Spirit Severing or Wending Ascendant, let alone the second step. Third step. And Da Tian itself. She had never cared for such things. The woman who had devoted her entire life to loving Wang Lin had only one thought to be resurrected. Her husband must have endured endless suffering. Her heart quietly ached. Compared to so-called cultivation or power, what mattered to Li Mu Wan was how, during the 2,000 years she had slumbered, Wang Lin had weathered countless storms, and in the years to come, what she could do to make it up to him. Just like back then in the Yuntianzong Cloud Sky sect, when she willingly stayed behind to support him as he sought vengeance, managing the sect alone so he could stride forth unburdened. In the end, Li Mu Wan remained the pure-hearted woman whose heart held only her beloved. This is perhaps the greatest difference between kin and strangers. When you grow powerful, enemies will hate and envy you, strangers will admire you, friends will remember and respect you, but only your loved one will ache over the hardships you've endured, wonder what you still lack by your side, and think about what they can do for you. 3. Gu Dao Da Tianzun. As the supreme powerhouse of the Xian Cang Da Lu before Wang Lin's era, his fate was more tragic than any other Da Tianzun. Though he wielded the power all Da Tianzuns coveted, he was imprisoned by that very power his entire life, eternally a shadow of the Guzu, losing his own self. Though he carried the will to break free, he knew he lacked the strength in this lifetime and could only resign himself to being the Dao protector of the Guzu. Bound by the Gu clan's might, he could not take even half a step outside their domain. Yet, this tremendous price also gave him not only the strength to touch upon the Da Tian threshold, but also fragments of the Guzu's memories. Through them, he learned the truth of the Xianzhu and Guzu's sacrifice and glimpsed a new path for his otherwise predetermined, monotonous life. Still, countless years passed without hope, until Wang Lin defeated him. Only then, like a drowning man grasping a life-saving raft, did he lower the head that had been held high for 10,000 years, pleading for Wang Lin to show him the truth of this world. Because of this plea, He became the only person on the Xian Cang Da Lu to witness Wang Lin attain Da Tian, finally. Through Wang Lin's explanation, he learned that the Taigu Shenjing was merely a space created by a treasure, and that the Xian Cang Da Lu was not some illusion of a mighty being, as the Xianzu and Guzu once suspected, but a truly existing land. After fully understanding all he had sought, Gu Dao Da Tianzun bowed deeply before Wang Lin. This bow carried the utmost respect and gratitude from the bottom of his heart. 4. Lang Tian Ho if one had never read the original story. Perhaps no one could have imagined that this was also a figure of great importance. When he appeared in the Xianji Immortal Realm, his cultivation was only at Jingyue Clear Moon, but that was merely one of his avatars. His true body had always remained outside the Xian Cang Da Lu Immortal Astral Continent, accompanying his master. As one of the witnesses of Wang Lin's rise from the very beginning, Lang Tianho's feelings at this moment were surely the most complex of all. He recalled their first meeting, when Wang Lin was merely a fledgling cultivator at the Huashen spirit severing stage. Unworthy even of his notice, perhaps just a wave of his hand could have crushed thousands like him. And yet, little more than 2,000 years later, that same man's strength had far surpassed his own, even stepping ahead of his master. Most importantly, Lang Tianho was not merely a bystander, he had also participated in Wang Lin's growth. For a very long time, the sword chi his avatar left behind was Wang Lin's greatest trump card. That avatar had even fought shoulder to shoulder with Wang Lin against Tian Yun Zi, who had been transformed from the origin of the Dingjie Luopan boundary compass. To him, it felt like watching an ant transform into a man, and then from a man into an immortal. He had followed Wang Lin's growth first from a position of superiority, until the day he had to look up in reverence. The emotion and astonishment in his heart could scarcely be imagined. Fortunately, as the servant of the one who had set the great chessboard in motion, Lang Tianho knew at least part of the truth. Because of this, he was able to restrain his feelings, turning all his shock and amazement into a smile of goodwill. 5. Mie Sheng Laoren, Old Man of Annihilating Life. This was perhaps a unique existence in the entire story, an ancient monster whose role was nearly equal to that of the author himself, as if he had held the script in his hands from the very beginning. As a famed wanderer across Ergen's 5-part cycle, Mie Sheng's life was not one of invincible journeys, but of an endless path to pursue and perfect his own Tao. Thus, he was the one who had met and conversed with the greatest number of powerhouses. This imprint began in Xianye Immortal Destiny, where he had been asked by Su Ming to search for the soul of Hechuolong the Cranky Crane. In the end, however, he stayed because he encountered Liu Mo, an equal of his level, and remained in the Nichenji Reverse Dust Realm for tens of thousands of years, waiting for Liu Mo's avatar Wang Lin to rise and complete the unfinished half of their great game of chess. Therefore, when Wang Lin crossed the bridge of Da Tian and appeared before him, joy lit up every feature of Mie Sheng. He conversed at length with the young man he had met for the first time. When the chess match concluded and he realized Wang Lin's true realm, that joy turned into admiration. We do not know what he saw in the chess game that led him to the conclusion that Wang Lin had already surpassed him. But this made Wang Lin the second rising star after Su Ming to have outstripped him. From the start of his cultivation path to surpassing Mie Sheng took Wang Lin less than 3,000 years. Thus, his admiration was completely natural. 6. Li Qian Mei. She was the last among this list to witness the moment Wang Lin broke through to Da Tian, as the woman who had loved Wang Lin most deeply and sacrificed the most for him. Li Qian Mei always carried an irreconcilable conflict within her heart about their relationship. She longed to be with him forever, yet feared that Wang Lin stayed by her side only out of gratitude. Thus, after reincarnating in the Xian Cang Da Lu, Li Qian Mei used a mysterious method to awaken her past life memories earlier than anyone else, then erased every trace of herself from the flow of Lun Hui reincarnation, so that even a Wang Lin at half-step Da Tian could not find her. This action of hers was clearly a test to see if Wang Lin's feelings for her were true. If, even in such a situation, Wang Lin persisted in searching, then his love for her required no further proof. In the end, the matter was resolved. After Wang Lin concluded his Tao discussion with Mie Sheng, Li Qian Mei saw the figure of Wang Lin and Li Mu Wan walking away together. Her tears fell as she accepted her fate, resolving to spend the rest of her life in the company of ancient lamps and old Buddhas. Yet, at that very moment, a familiar voice suddenly sounded from behind her, carrying the promise that in this lifetime, they would never again be separated like birds and fish. Hearing this promise, Li Qian Mei no longer cared for cultivation or realms. She was instantly overwhelmed, sobbing uncontrollably. In her eyes now, Wang Lin was no longer the lofty Datian cultivator revered by the world, but the man she could rely upon for the rest of her life.